Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Thomas Rants YouTube channel. Time to talk SmackDown. I'm a few days late, but we're here nevertheless. Firstly, I want to talk about the main thing, right? Let's talk about John Cena. Let's talk about the positives, the negatives, what I like, what I don't like. So he comes out to cut the promo, he's still face. So my prediction at SummerSlam was wrong. I thought the face act was literally just an act to trick Cody Rhodes in order for Cena to trick him, do the heel thing, ruin the match once again, and beat Cody Rhodes. And I thought that would have been genius. As much as it would have pissed fans off, I thought it would have been genius. But he's still face, which I'm not going to complain about, because let's be honest, face John Cena is the man we love, and I will never complain. I will not complain. I don't even care. I wasn't even complaining at the heel run. I thought the heel run was quite alright. And I think people can complain all they want. But John Cena's got 1 year. You know what I mean? And let's get on the topic of complaining about John Cena. A lot of people weren't happy. I mean, I wasn't happy at the results of SummerSlam, but I got over them pretty quick because it's wrestling and you can't always have things the way you want them if you want some long-term storytelling. People were annoyed because everyone assumed that Brock Lesnar coming back was just WWE and TKO trying to create another shock factor moment. You know, like what Cody Rhodes saying, telling The Rock to fuck off, and The Rock and Travis Scott being, just shock factor moment. While those were just shock factor moments, they weren't supposed to be. You know what I mean? The Rock and Travis Scott were supposed to play a role. The Rock just deleted himself from it. Travis Scott lost interest after ruining the main event of WrestleMania. It just went in the toilet bowl. It wasn't the original plan. Unfortunately, they did what they could. And Brock Lesnar was not a shock factor moment because John Cena still mentioned him in his promo, but he has the problem. Right, John Cena in his promo was like, he's only got so many matches left, and Montreal was a great crowd, which they were, absolutely amazing crowd. It was so good to see John Cena just get cheered and get drowned in noise, like, it was so great. He's genuinely my goal. I can't believe we're actually going to leave him and lose him. But then he did the, and this is crazy because in Montreal, this is where John Cena used to do US Open challenges. Well, not in Montreal, but used to do them all the time. And in Montreal, it was when Bret Hart brought out Sami Zayn to answer the US Open challenge, which was, I think, the most iconic of the US Open challenges. And he sort of did that again. He said, anyone in the back wants a match. And this, I love. John Cena having a match on SmackDown, this I love. Because all we've been doing is saving Cena matches for PLEs. And it's meant he's had like 5 matches in his return. He's had Rumble, Chamber. And then he had Cody, Randy, Punk. I mean, he had Truth. He had the match of Truth on SmackDown. But we could have had so much more opponents if when he appeared on Raw and SmackDown, he had matches. Because then we could have these dream matches that wouldn't have been massive storylines, but matches we wanted to see. And we could see them happen. Because now we're at a point where we're in August and we've got Clash in Paris, Crown Jewel, Survivor Series, and then maybe a Saturday night's main event somewhere in there. We've got probably about 4 PLEs left, which basically means 4 John Cena matches. In there, we've got a Brock Lesnar feud that needs to be fulfilled, and at Clash in Paris, they've now put Logan Paul there, which I'll get into my thoughts on that in a second. And then we've got space for Cena's last match, which needs to be something meaningful. And in between there, I want a Cena AJ Styles match for the IC title. If not for the IC title, I want to see Cena Styles and then Cena still fighting for the IC title in a separate match. We've not got many options, yeah, and we need to make the right decision. So Logan Paul coming out, calling out Cena, thinking we're going to have a match on SmackDown in Canada. That's great, because Cena and Logan Paul is a match that should have happened. Let's be honest, right? Logan Paul's getting better in the ring. He's getting better as a WWE superstar. I, myself, after that match at SummerSlam, have accepted Logan Paul as a wrestler now, right? He's paid his dues. I feel like 3 years is enough. Last year, you spoke to me a couple months ago, you spoke to me last year, any previous time, I would have said, it's cool having Logan Paul in the WWE, but he shouldn't be in main storylines, he shouldn't be winning titles, he can't be winning matches, he can be on PLEs and stuff like that, but he needs to pay his dues like everyone else. It's fine having a presence, it's fine bringing an audience, but you need to have some respect for the sport. And although they missed out on that, having Logan Paul with one of the longest United States title reigns, they had Logan Paul beat AJ Styles at WrestleMania. They made a lot of decisions with Logan Paul that I wasn't happy about. But eventually now, I feel like I'm at peace with it now, because that match with Drew McIntyre, Randy Orton and Jelly Roll, first of all, it proved the ability Logan Paul has, when Jelly Roll in his first match wasn't able to perform how Logan Paul was in his first match, which obviously there's a lot of differences there. Logan Paul was a lot younger and he was already in shape and he was a natural athlete. But there's credit for Logan Paul there, right? And it also just you can tell that he's now developing a lot better. But it still doesn't mean that he deserves all these other shots. And a lot of people will say, oh, Logan Paul's going to be a future world champion. Now, while I don't disagree, it's a very WWE thing to do, and I can definitely see it happening. I wouldn't want it to happen because I feel like there's so many more people that deserve it. Pretty much everyone on that roster deserve it more than Logan Paul. No disrespect to him, but in the sense that they've worked so long for it. But I'm more at peace with it now because of what Logan Paul's been doing. So when I seen him come out to John Cena, I thought, John Cena and Logan Paul, it's a match I can't deny. We might need to see happen. And the fact that I thought would happen on SmackDown made it even better because we've got an impromptu Cena match on SmackDown. And we can do that Logan Paul match without taking up a space at the PLE. But no, what did they do? They set it for Clash in Paris. This makes no sense. Yeah? So John Cena coming out as a good guy. Logan Paul comes out, calls him out, says you've changed. Because he was teaming up with Logan when they were both heels at Money in the Bank. But obviously it's been the same Cena all along. The Cena that teamed up with Logan was the changed Cena. So Logan Paul kind of called him out. But then immediately set it for Clash in Paris with no backstory. No history. Cena mentioned Brock Lesnar in his promo. Brock Lesnar didn't come back. Didn't show up after returning at SummerSlam. Cena, Lesnar needs to happen in Clash in Paris. Where's it going to happen? Crown Jewel. Cool, but then what? We've got 2 Cena matches left? Like, come on, man. I mean, I know he's got 11 appearances, but, like, that's Raw and SmackDown. That's promos and all sorts, yeah? So, where's Cena Brock happening? Because it's not happening on Raw and SmackDown, so it's going to happen at Crown Jewel. Let's be honest. It's going to happen at Crown Jewel. And then we've got, like, 2 PLEs left in Cena's last match. So, the options are slimming, right? And that's when Drew McIntyre came along and hit up John Cena, and I thought, Drew McIntyre, John Cena is a match that needs to happen. Drew McIntyre is a big star. That match never happened with Drew as a big star. I don't even know if it is actually happened, and if it did, it would be back when Drew was developing as a superstar and he wasn't anything big, and that's a match I'd love to see. And that, as a match at Clash in Paris, would be great. I would be fine with that, right? If we put Brock on hold, so Cena and Drew could have a feud, I'd be absolutely fine with that. But obviously it's not, because they want Drew in the WWE title match at Clash in Paris, which I'm not complaining about, yeah? Which set up a tag team match with Cody, Cena, against Drew and Logan in the main event. That is an incredible main event for SmackDown. That I'm very happy with. That is the positive. The negative, in fact, the only negative to all of this is the fact that Logan Paul, John Cena is happening at Clash in Paris. If they wanted the tag team match tonight and it ends in DQ, fine. Cody, set up Cody, Drew for Clash in Paris, because Drew now was looking at that title, was getting flashbacks from being the champion. He missed the fact that he's never been able to get on top in front of a crowd, and then when he finally was and he won that world title at WrestleMania, it was stolen from him, and he's done everything in his power to be world champion, and the universe has done everything in its power to stop him, and he saw it, and he saw red, because that's been his main goal. And he claymored Cody's head through the side of the announce table. A new spot. What makes a spot so cool is the fact that it's unique. Yeah, and I love when they do something new like that, unless it looks shit. But that didn't. That looks great. So I love that. They've set up that story for Clash in Paris now. And that's going to lead on. That's great. If this whole Logan Paul, John Cena thing was just to set up Drew McIntyre, Cody Rhodes to Clash in Paris, great success. Unfortunately, they made a match with Logan Paul, John Cena, Clash in Paris. That match could have happened next week because Logan's low-blowed him and DQ'd and couldn't do it next week, and Cena could have had another appearance, another match on SmackDown. But it didn't happen, and it's happening at Clash in Paris. So that's the negative. But John Cena promo was great. John Cena in the match was great. He literally had the 5 moves of doom. That's all he did, was the 5 moves of doom. But who cares? Who cares? It's John Cena's last times here, and I'll be honest, that match at SummerSlam was Cena's greatest match of his career, in my opinion. I mean, this might just be recency bias. This might just be the bias because of the excitement I had when I initially watched it. But that was a fantastic match. And fantastic main event, fantastic way to open up the show. That just got me excited, I'll be honest. The Clash in Paris matches pissed me off. Anyway, I spoke about that for 9 minutes now. Let's move on, right? Let's talk... Well, the WWE Women's Champion is... Again, we had some excitement with Jade Cargill. I thought Jade Cargill might win the title at SummerSlam, and we might get some new, fresh storylines building for this women's title, because Tiffany Stratton, while she's not a bad champion, they've just not done a lot of feuds with her. They had Nia Jax, and then she had a couple of cool matches here and there, but it was never, any hard-hitting storylines. I just thought maybe because they needed a fresh champion, I thought that's what they'd do with Jade Cargill. Should feud with Bianca Belair, should feud with Naomi when Naomi finally comes back. Should do a lot of stuff with that title, but they didn't. They kept the title on Tiffany. So I had a backstage interview where Jade Cargill essentially just said, I'm not done with that title, and Tiffany said, okay. And she walked off. So we've got no build for that title. Nothing's really happening, but I hope that they do something soon because Tiffany's an alright champion. And she's had a long reign now, and they seriously need to do something serious with it. And if they're not, they need to change hands and come up with some great ideas. You know what I mean? There's plenty of time for Tiffany to be champion in the future. Do you know what I mean? She's young. She's been in the business for 3 years, I think. Like, not long, 4 years, I think, even. That's not long. She's still young. She's got so much time to be champion. And that's when Jade Cargill was approached by Kiana James and Julia. Julia, obviously the champion, who's defended it once. And Kiana James is back, finally, and she's her personal manager, I guess, PA. She's a personal assistant. She gave Jade a business card. I actually made a full-on business card, I saw it, for Kiana James. And Michin came along, took that off Jade and said, I'm going to get a US title shot. So Michin might be chasing after the US title again, but we had that Michin-Chelsea. Michin-Julia is a different type of match, and I feel like that's probably going to be a great match. At least they're doing something with the Women's United States Championship division, do you know what I mean? I mean, normally they do nothing with it, so who can complain? And the first match of the night, let's get into it. It was Motor City Machine Guns versus MFT, is what they're calling it. MFT, Tala Tonga and JC Mateo, now obviously including Tonga Loa, but he was at ringside with Solo Squad. These two faced off, and I think it was to become number one contenders for the WWE Tag Team titles after Wyatt 6 retained them at SummerSlam, and it was a great match, and Motor City Machine Guns were doing great spots. The crowd got more behind them as the match went on, because I feel like WWE have failed Motor City Machine Guns in the fact that they were big stars outside of WWE, and they've come in, and WWE have just kind of they've not sidelined them, you know, they've not put them on main event matches. They've done all right, but they're not the most hyped team. So the crowd got more hyped as they saw them in ring. It just proves you need to put Motor City Machine Guns in the ring more, so they can shine. But eventually MFT got the win, which fair enough because you're trying to build them. You're trying to make Tala Tonga and JC Mateo look good, which is hard to do with Tama Tonga, Tonga Loa, Tala Tonga, JC Mateo. I mean, Tama Tonga's not here right now, but it's hard to do because they don't always perform. They're not the greatest on the mic. They're not the greatest. They don't have the greatest presence. And in the ring, they're not the greatest either. So Motor City Machine Guns gelled quite well with them. Having a team as high flying as them gelled quite well for their big, tall guy and powerful moves, you know. So they won, and they're number one contenders for the tag team titles. And while the Wyatt 6 didn't mention them, the Wyatt 6 did have a video package where every single member spoke, which is important. Because let's not remember, Eric Rowan is the most OG out of all them Wyatts. He's the longest reigning Wyatt family member, let's be honest. So it's great that he got to speak. I'm not going to say everything because I can't even remember what they said, but just stuff like they didn't do it for the fame and fortune. They're fighting for something so much bigger. You know, very cryptic messages. Nikki Cross spoke and had a Scottish accent. She's always been a creepy character. Dexter Lumis, I think this might be one of the first times I've ever heard him talk. He spoke. Joe Gacy. And what's cool about all these characters is they've always been creepy characters. Eric Rowan, obviously part of Wyatt family. Nikki Cross has always been a weird psychopath. Dexter Lumis was his own psycho weirdo, and Joe Gacy used to run his own creepy stuff in NXT. The only one who wasn't a previous creepy character was Uncle Howdy or Bo Dallas, but he was obviously Bray Wyatt's real life brother, so that makes sense. So they had a bit of a video package. As for the rest of the division, we had a bit of a confrontation between DIY and Street Profits backstage, obviously, both in that ladder match, and Candice LeRae has a fat ass bruise on her leg from going through that ladder. Johnny Gargano's icing up his throat, and Street Profits were making fun of DIY for Johnny being a bad husband and Tommaso Ciampa being a bad friend because they accidentally pushed Candice off the ladder. And I thought Nick Aldis was going to set up a 6-man mixed gender tag, you know, with DIY and Candice against Street Profits and B-Fab, but literally just Street Profits and DIY, which is happening next week, which fair enough, it's always a good match, but I'm a bit bored of these matches because although it's a fire tag team division, we've been seeing these tag matches a lot, you know, and they do put on great matches, which is why it's not got boring, but I'm just not excited for it, but I know when I say it, it'll be a great time to watch. So yeah, that's great. We know SmackDown thrives with the tag team division, and actually immediately following the MFT's match with Motor City Machine Guns, Solo Sikoa was there like, there's no one in Montreal to fight me, so I'm going to leave, and obviously you can tell that was when WWE were going to introduce someone who's going to fight him, which I thought was going to be Jacob Fatu. Then NICHOLLZ came out and said, I've got a special guest, and you know him very well, and they're in Montreal. I thought Sami Zayn. And what's beautiful about this is I was just talking earlier about John Cena doing open challenges in Montreal. We had that iconic Bret Hart bringing out Sami Zayn. This time NICHOLLZ brought out Sami Zayn for an open challenge against Solo Sikoa. And I initially thought this was for the US title, so I thought, oh, they're going to have Sami Zayn lose in Montreal. And then they had Tonga Loa, JC Mateo, Tala Tonga all getting involved trying to distract Sami Zayn. Solo Sikoa took advantage. I thought, yep, here we go, Solo's going to win with the Samoan Spike. And Sami rolled him up, and it was 1, 2, 3, and I thought, oh my god, Sami Zayn's just won the US title in Montreal. No, it was just a non-title match. I'm so stupid. And they made such a big deal about it. But the fact that Sami Zayn's just pinned Solo Sikoa, first of all, we can't ignore that now. We can't ignore that Sami Zayn has went there. He's made a ruckus. Solo and the MFTs are gonna want to get back at him. We can't ignore that he's just pinned the US champion. So can we not just send him back to Raw and then do nothing about it? Even if this is a 1 week, 2 week feud, give him a title match and then have him lose and then it's over with. But he's just pinned the champion. Can we not ignore it? Bring some legitimacy to it and give him a title shot. Do you know what I mean? Let's do that. But yeah, that was a nice match to watch. I can't even lie. It was a nice surprise. So no complaints here. What else have I got to talk about? The women's tag team division also doing very well recently, which thank the Lord. They've had those belts since 2019. This is the only time since the belts first came around that this division has been mildly exciting. And obviously we've seen the progression of Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair over the last few weeks, where they've been from let's partner up to have a shot at the tag titles, let's just try and win something, and then they didn't, and then Charlotte Flair didn't give up hope because she wanted the championship. They fought at SummerSlam, won the belts, and then actually got along and became friends. And this was the day before Alexa's birthday, so Charlotte Flair had a surprise. She brought back Lily, and she brought back Charlie, the doll that Alexa gifted to Charlotte Flair many years ago when they were feuding for the title or whatever, or when Alexa was trying to recruit Charlotte, I can't remember. But this is actually poetic, and I was talking about the poeticness of them being tag team partners because they're both kind of not past their prime, but they had their day and they're not the most popular stars. And back in 2017 and 2018, Alexa and Charlotte were running shop. Alexa was running Raw, Charlotte was running SmackDown. It was great times, and now that they're tag team partners, it's pretty crazy, and it just kind of molds so well. Now, to think back, even when Alexa got that Charlie doll for Charlotte Flair years ago, and they brought them back, it's kind of genius. But they were having a celebration, and Chelsea Green came out and got booed by Canada. Well, initially she was getting cheered, and this is crazy because, again, on NXT, she went to support Ethan Page and back to Canada. So Charlotte Flair and Chelsea Green had a match, and there was a birthday cake. It ended with Chelsea Green's face in the birthday cake. I mean, typical. Chelsea Green's always the one to take those bumps, you know, getting messied up with birthday cake, getting put in a dumpster, and then tapped out Charlotte Flair. Decent match. I love that Charlotte Flair is actually getting cheered now. And it looks like, although like they're coming out and they're doing these cringy segments that aren't exactly punchline heavy, they're not like shocking moments where the crowd will like cheer or something. But you can tell Charlotte and Alexa are having fun with what they're doing, and that's important because they're like now, they're successful, they're bringing the tag team division up, and they're having fun. So this can only do good things, and the fact that they're having frequent matches on Raw and SmackDown, it's obviously a good thing. I mean, why wouldn't it be? So yeah, and I think the only other thing that happened was a promo package from Aleister Black, explaining, you know, what he did to Damian Priest, and he says the crowd were cheering Damian while he was trying to put Aleister Black through a table. So then he did that brutal attack on him. He threw the chair at him. He kicked his face in with a black mass, and he said, it's not an eye for an eye. For me, it's an eye for a head. It's an eye for whatever. And he says he went to the extreme because Damian saw it and whatever. And yeah, he just sort of explained why he's so violent, and I agree with this because they're making it look serious. They're giving Aleister Black some airtime, which they didn't do to people like Karrion Kross, who's now gone from the company, which is a shame. Do you mind, brother? Jesus Christ. Apparently he's got a hairline fracture on his jaw. Don't know how real it is. Don't know if it's just for the story, but it is what it is. I like that they're frequently putting Aleister Black there And they're keeping this feud going because Alistair and Damien, when they do fight, are going to have a great fight. I can just tell. I feel like although Damien Priest doesn't have the exact same style as Alistair Black, they're quite similar in ways. And I feel like they're going to gel very well. And also, one last thing, CENA and R-Truth met backstage. And there's more backstage segments, actually, I'm remembering now. But CENA, R-Truth met backstage and they mimicked each other, and it was like looking in a mirror. Obviously, it's completely different. But R-Truth was like, oh my god, CENA, you're back. Yes, finally back. And then CENA acted as if R-Truth was being the weird one for 5 months, said, oh, you start saying you ruined wrestling and all this. And I just find it funny that people were thinking this whole heel run was bad because it wasn't. And looking back at it, I just think, oh, this is great how WWE have actually done this. And yeah, I mean, that was pretty self-explanatory. R-Truth and CENA had that amendment moment, and R-Truth said if CENA's back, he's back, so there's no more serious R-Truth, which I feel like we don't need to go down that route, because R-Truth getting serious was actually something we needed for R-Truth. It was a bit of a change. It lasted 2-3 weeks, and WWE have done nothing. But, like I said for Sammy before, let's not ignore things. Same with Alistair Black and stuff like that. The Miz and Carmelo Hayes 2 weeks ago. I mean, Miz had a match with Jacob Fatu. Carmelo Hayes was appearing against Damian Priest. And I'm like, why aren't they together anymore? What happened? And WWE didn't just sweep it under the rug. Carmelo ran into the Miz and said, what you been doing? You've not spoke to us in like 2 months. Where you been? What happened to trying to help me out, trying to elevate me? You've done now. You've just ignored us. And the Miz is like, yeah, no, you've got to be patient, though. You know, John Cena's just come back and got title shots. I've beat John Cena before. Where's my title shots? Stuff like that, because Carmelo was trying to shoot for a United States title shot. The Miz said, look, be patient. I've got us a tag team match next week where Melo don't Miz, we all owes him, whatever. And he put the hope back into Carmelo Hayes. As Carmelo walked away, NICHOLLZ came back and said, what was all that about? And obviously that was evidence there that The Miz had not, in fact, spoke to NICHOLLZ and had not, in fact, made that tag team match. But he was lying to Carmelo Hayes, gaslighting him, you know, making him think that everything's okay and The Miz is helping him when he's really not. And really, is this a story where The Miz is just manipulating Carmelo Hayes to keep him down and keep him out of the way, so The Miz doesn't have competition like Carmelo Hayes? Because obviously you can see a lot of potential in Carmelo Hayes, and you can see a lot of The Miz in Carmelo Hayes. So maybe he is making that tag match for next week, and maybe he is trying, or maybe this is one big manipulation. But we'll never know, and we will know. We'll know next week. But really, I can see where this is going. It's going to be a temporary partnership where The Miz and Carmelo Hayes eventually fall out. Carmelo Hayes breaks out of his shell. They have a big match. He beats The Miz. It puts him over. And Carmelo Hayes might have a bit of a babyface run. Who knows? Although Carmelo Hayes is a fantastic heel, they need to utilise his talent and put them in a story where maybe changing him a face might be the way to do it. I mean, it was so Trick on NXT, call himself him. So why doesn't Carmelo Hayes pay Trick Williams a quick visit and rekindle that feud and that friendship for a bit, you know? But don't keep him down there. We need Carmelo Hayes to be pushed. But yeah, pretty decent episode of SmackDown. What I liked about it is the fact that I've watched it days later. They've got all the adverts and the extra stuff, and it's purely just what happened. 1 hour, 20 minutes, not long. We've got covered most of the areas of the division. Matches aren't long. It's great, right? Save long matches for PLEs. The weekly shows need to be quick matches, backstage segments, explaining stories, entertainment, right? That's what it needs to be. Yeah, and that's exactly what that was. Although SmackDown is not on the level that Monday Night Raw is on, it's doing a lot better than it was a couple months ago when it was 3 hours and there was just lots of tag matches for nothing. Do you know what I mean? So this was very good. And thank you all so much for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.